Hello everyone and welcome back to the SteemTrail Gaming Podcast. Oh, sorry, no, I'm talking complete bullcrap. Welcome back to the SteemTrail Gaming News for the 24th of November. My name is Kralizec and obviously I'm a bit tired today. I've been doing a lot of stuff today, so I'm sorry if I'm going to make some errors straight away. But we should get straight into news. We're going to go into two very interesting topics today. So first we're going to start with Call of Duty World War II microtransactions being halted, possibly because of Battlefront 2. And then we're going to talk about Battlefront 2, but this time from a point of view of a Wall Street analyst. We'll see what he has to say and whether we will agree with it, or whether I personally will agree with it, maybe in comments whether you will agree with it. But let's start with Call of Duty 2. So Call of Duty World War II, its premium currency has finally arrived, and well, a lot of people like to spend real money these days inside of their online games. And well, it's been pretty interesting. These new supply drops that are available in World War II, well, currently contain only items that can customize your character. And what's pretty interesting, because originally we were supposed to get epic and legendary weapons, and it seems that the developer of Call of Duty 2 have actually learned from Battlefront's mistake, because if they did the same exact thing, that means pay to win, as Battlefront 2 did, they would have been in a shitstorm. So while the supply drops are now available in game, as said already, they only contain appearance changing weapons and clothes, so you cannot actually gain any benefits, though it's originally we actually were supposed to get them based off a leak off Reddit. There was supposed to be even epic and legendary weapons. And what can we say then? Good. Maybe developers are actually learning. An interesting thought that can be towards this is the fact that a lot of countries are actually now starting to look at the possibility that loot boxes might actually be a tool for gambling, and thus their games that would contain loot boxes would have to be sold at a very different market point, because they couldn't be sold to underage people. Of course, the number of the age where you are actually underage will vary differently country from country. Here in Czech Republic it's 18. I'm pretty sure there are countries where it is 16. There are countries where it might be 21. I'm not sure how it would work in America though. What can we let's say about this then? Hopefully this will be a new trend for the future, and we will see less loot boxes in the future. I don't really have a problem with microtransactions per se. They can offer a very interesting way to add different tools to your game that you wouldn't be able to add, especially for free-to-play games. But the games that cost a full price release, they should really be a full price release. And that actually pretty nicely brings us to the second topic for today, where a Wall Street analyst named Evan Vingren actually says that he thinks that the community around Battlefront 2 is overreacting. And let me just say, bullshit. Though his reasoning isn't actually that stupid, he just comes to a very stupid conclusion with it. So what he actually says is this: quantitative analysis shows that video game publishers are actually charging gamers at a relatively inexpensive rate and should probably raise prices. You know what? I'm fine with that. Games have not really gone through a cycle of inflation for a pretty long time. The AAA releases are still usually priced at $60 for standard editions, $80, maybe $100 for deluxe editions, depending on what exactly is part of the deluxe edition. And I agree that it may be time for games to get slightly more expensive. I know this will probably not sound really gamer friendly for me, and I personally would love if games would stay at the same price level as they are, but the truth is inflation is a thing. And if I remember correctly, the average inflation for a year around the world is around 2%. And that means everything should get roughly, I think it's 8 years, maybe 7 years. Every 7 years, it should get 20% more expensive. And games haven't really gone through this cycle for a very, very long time. If I remember correctly, games have costed pretty much the same amount of money since probably the early 2000s. And that means they're pretty long overdue for a price increase, though the reasons why the games didn't go through a price increase are pretty obvious. On one hand, it became much easier to sell higher numbers of games. That means you actually don't have to make that much money on a single copy. It's the just usual economic law of big numbers, where the more you sell, the more money you make, and thus you can sell for lower prices, actually. Especially with products that have a fixed cost. And games are a perfect example of this, especially in the age of digital distribution. Obviously, there are some additional costs after you make the game, but the bulk of the money you will spend, especially for middle-sized studios and small studios, obviously, especially the ones that don't provide online features for the games. And if you have online features, obviously it does cost some extras, but most of the money you actually spend does happen during the development cycle. And once you sell enough copies to sell for the to pay for the development cycle, you keep all the rest on top of that. That's just pure profit for you. And digital games are just that. It was a bit different in the age of physical media, but even then the physical media and the manufacturing process was pretty minuscule amount of the money usually spent on the development of the game when talking about AAA titles from big studios. For example, EA and DICE in the case of Star Wars Battlefront 2. So Wingren comments are probably coming from a really different angle. He's coming at the angle that, yes, games are fairly cheap for how much more they cost to make compared to 10 years ago. And they are pretty much at the same price. And microtransactions are a tool that companies use to actually combat this. The problem with it is that EA just went overboard with this. As I said many times over and over again, microtransactions aren't inherently bad. They do have a place in modern gaming, but they do have a place, in my opinion, as a tool that isn't paid to win. Because, you know what, it can be paid to win in purely single-player games. But when it comes to multiplayer games, there should be an even field. And Battlefront 2 just didn't provide that. And that was the biggest problem there for the vast majority of people, including me. And on top of that, the amount of time it took to unlock things was just way too absurd. And there was another thing, and it was sort of tied to the time. So you could either spend about 4,500 hours just grinding shit out. That's an absurd time. It's 1.5 year. Not 1.5. It's a half year of pure game time. I would say that's an average time of what people have in, for example, World of Warcraft. Let me just quickly check. My all-time most played game right now on Steam is Rocket League. That's a game that's 2 years old, and I played pretty often for 2 to 3 hour sessions, and I bought it 2 weeks after it came out. I have 862 hours played. That's still not even close. So it would take years for an average player to unlock everything in game. Or they could spend a measly $2,000. And while I do agree with him to a degree that games could probably get a bit more expensive because of inflation, they shouldn't just suddenly jump from $60 to $2,000. That's as a ridiculous statement as saying they should just be, all games should be free. And both of these statements are equally stupid, and none of them should be listened to. So, Wingren, yes, you're obviously an economist, and I understand the point of view you're coming from. You have chosen a really bad example to tackle this with. The Battlefront controversy was obviously well-reasoned, and it was an overreaction. An overreaction, in this case, I don't know. I don't think there would be an overreaction. As I said, I just think people who think these sort of business practices are ridiculous should boycott the game, and many people are boycotting the game. Maybe if it would be like a small... Let's actually use Rocket League as an example. If people start boycotting Rocket League because they are selling things that can alter your appearance, that would be ridiculous, and that would be an overreaction by the community. But here, it wasn't. And Mr. Wingren, you obviously understand economics, but you don't understand the gamer community. And if you want to comment on controversies, especially such big ones inside the gamer community, you also need to become an expert on the gamer community. And that's pretty much all on this. Let's go now to a little bit away from the news and do the daily Steam Autumn Sale recommendations. So again, I have 5 games for you, again at 5 different price points. And we are going to start with Sid Meier's Civilization 6. So Sid Meier's Civilization 6 is currently available for $29.99. That means it has a 50% sale going on. And what can I say? It's Civilization. It's good. It's, though I personally prefer the original old school Civilization. If you want something a bit more modern, Civilization 6 is a great choice. Great game for anyone who loves strategy games, and I don't really know what to say. Just remember to go to bed, because there's always that one more turn. Okay, the second game I want to recommend is actually another strategy game. This time from Paradox, and it is called Stellaris. So Stellaris is a grand strategy game set in a galaxy. You just become an interstellar empire, you try to get as many resources as you can, and over a long period of time, you try to conquer the whole galaxy. Stellaris is currently available for $15.99. That is a 60% discount. And there are many ways to even expand on that. Either you can buy many of the DLCs available for Stellaris, or you can even go for the fan-made mods. Seriously, I have spent many hours inside this game, though I do recommend leaving pretty big spaces between each gameplay, because the game can become a bit repetitive unless you are a huge fan of grand strategy games. Okay, third game, or more specifically, a way to play many more games, is the Tabletop Simulator. So the Tabletop Simulator is not really a game, but it is a tool that allows you to play board games on your PC. It allows you to play them locally on a single computer with your friends. That means it's a great tool for couch gaming. It allows you to play online games. So if your friends are, let's say you're from Czech Republic like me, and your friends are from Zimbabwe, you can still play with them. Obviously, in the trailer, you see mainly, let's call them traditional games, but there are so many games available online for anyone I think my favorite one is actually Dark Souls 3 right now. Dark Souls, the board game. I'm actually considering buying that as a real world game, though it is a bit pricey. Or if you have a few friends that like to be talkative and just like to figure out who is a liar, then a great way is Secret Hitler. Tabletop Simulator is currently available for $9.99. That's a 50% discount. And I highly recommend it. It's probably one of the games that can bring you the most insane amount of value ever. Okay, fourth game, now we're going into the cheapo games, is actually a game from a Czech developer, from someone from my own country, and it's called Samorost 3. It's a pretty amazing game. Just look at those graphics. I mean, seriously, doesn't it just amaze you? It's sort of this little puzzle adventure game. It looks gorgeous. The soundtrack is gorgeous, and it has a pretty nice story. It's not the most complex game, but if you haven't played any of the Samorost games, you really should try it out. I think the first one is actually available for free on Android, so if you want to go there, you can get it there. I'm not completely sure. Let me just quickly check. Samorost Android. Okay, Android. So I see the Samorost 3 on Android. So Samorost 3 is also available for Android. Yeah, I don't. Maybe I lied. Okay. Yeah, I don't see it on. But there is a guide. So if you want to, you can actually get a guide and get Samorost on Android or iOS. By the way, Samorost is currently available for $5.99. That means a 70% discount from the original price. So if you haven't played that yet and you're looking for something a bit more atmospheric and maybe less computer resource consuming, Samorost 3 is a great choice. And the last game for today is a Valve original production, same as yesterday. This time it's Portal 2. Portal 2, probably a cult classic these days. If you haven't played it, you really should. It's a mainly cooperative puzzle game with a portal gun. It's really hard to describe. Just solve puzzles by placing portals and jumping through them and shooting stuff through them. It's amazing what Valve has managed to do with this amazingly simple concept. It is available for $1.99. That means a 90% discount. So if you don't have it, this is the time to buy it. And that's going to be it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to give us that thumbs up here on YouTube and subscribe to our channel. Comment if you have something you would like to add. Especially, I would like to hear your opinions about the analyst. If you're watching this on Steam, be sure to give us an upvote and follow our blog, as that really helps us to grow. Same with commenting. Comment if you have anything you would like to add. You can be sure we will answer you. And with that being said, that's going to be it for today. So see you guys later with more gaming content.